So most people don't have a confidence problem, they have a visibility wound, and we're not talking about that enough. I am here to do a video today on the visibility wound and the fear of being seen. Now, a lot of us probably don't know what that means, and what my intentions are for this video is to simply keep it short and sweet, hopefully to the point, and just raise at least some awareness around this wound, around why we might keep constantly watering ourselves down or editing ourselves or softening our edges to please other people. It all comes down to this, self-worth feeling, this self-worth identity that we've taken on, and to keep other people happy. But what about ourselves? That is the work. That is why they call it the work. And so the visibility wound, I believe, isn't about, confidence. It's about safety. Safety about how we feel about ourselves. Being safe to be ourselves. Because at one point or another, we weren't fully seen. We weren't fully heard. We felt like our needs were too much from caregivers, relationships, friend groups. It usually always ties back to growing up and how other people made us feel about ourselves, and we carry that with us. And that's why I coach people. My passion and my love of coaching is to do exactly what coaching did for me, and that was to allow people to remember who the F they are essentially. Because when you can come home to that authentic self, and that's what it comes down to, it's again, authenticity. It's being authentic, the highest frequency that we can ever put out there as humans. It's being able to bask in that. So what the visibility wound is essentially is at some point being visible, being ourselves, equated to rejection, criticism. It could have equated to abandonment, or simply being misunderstood, as young people and teenagers growing up. This can all stem back from, like caregivers leaving, caregivers not being able to show up for us like we needed. It could be a not so great relationship that we were in that made us second guess our worth, our own worth. These things are enough to bring the most secure people to their knees if going through things like this, and we believe them to be true in the end, can really affect us growing up and can affect us into adulthood. And so your nervous system then decides that being small is safe. And then what that does is that trickles out throughout your whole life, into jobs, into friendships, into relationships, into everything, how you show up in the world. And it can be so detrimental if we have this visibility wound, this fear of being seen lurking in our subconscious. And that's, again, I've made videos before, you can go watch them, where I explain, our 95% thinking is subconscious thinking, like all of us, until we become aware. And that is the whole point that I'm making these videos from a coaching perspective and through lived experience, is showing you guys that these things can change. Neuroplasticity, science, all confirms that these things can change. We can think different, better thoughts. We can rewire our old limiting beliefs. We can rewrite our history. We don't have to stay stuck. We don't have to be anxious. We don't have to. We can rewrite that for however we imagine our lives to be. And that is so powerful once we have that awareness. And so what does being seen actually mean, and why are we so afraid of that? Because being seen, if we were fully available and, not scared of being seen in relationships, friendships, and the job that we want, that would mean vulnerability, wouldn't it? It would mean that we had to take the walls down. It would mean risk of being judged by others. It would mean being disliked potentially. Outgrown people, raising our standards. And I think what most of the fear a lot of us hold is actually speaking our needs, being seen, and then maintaining that and not crumbling back as soon as someone else says that they're not happy with how we've just showed up, or they're not happy with our new change in attitude, or they're not happy with that boundary that we just put in place. It's actually being able to be so strong and sovereign in yourself as a person who isn't scared to be themselves and isn't scared to be seen and doesn't have that fear of being seen, and actually saying, no, this is me, take it or leave it. That is so powerful. And that's why I do a lot of work and, you know, identity work around walking people home, back home to their authenticity, because not a lot of us know what that is, and we have to, you know, peel back those layers of where this fear of being seen or vulnerability could have possibly came from. And usually it's deep in our subconscious mind, deep down there, for something that is being put to the back of our heads that then gets triggered down the line. And relationships can do that for us a lot. If we're in romantic relationships, that can really bring up that wound for us, because a lot of the times if we are picking not the best relationships, it's meaning that we are often seeking the love from that caregiver that we potentially chased after at one point in time. Not always, but it always does come down to a self-worth issue with ourselves. It comes down to that at the core. But for a lot of people, we are seeking that love that perhaps we didn't get from our dads. So for women, it could be that love that we didn't get from our dads, that male role model. Instead of being shown what a healthy masculine is, maybe we didn't get that. And being truly seen and asking for our needs to be met in a relationship with another man, in a romantic sense, can scare the life out of us. And that is the visibility wound. It's the fear of being seen. And so if we're doing that in relationships and we're watering ourselves down to make someone else happy, to make our partner like us, to make our partner, you know, we don't want to shake the boat or rock the boat, whatever the saying is, because in case they abandon us, like what maybe like your dad did, or maybe we'll get the silent treatment from one of what we got from one of our parents, or, you know, it's all of these things tie into this visibility wound. It's that fear of just being so vulnerable and someone not liking us for it. And so where else can that play out? That can play out in so many other areas. That can play out in, you know, not going after the career you want. I had this fear as well. If you've seen my other videos, you will have known a little bit about my story, and, you know, I suffered with that father wound when I was growing up. I never had a father figure role present for me, and to some extent I still don't have that healthy, rounded role model to base like, you know, healthy love from. And so I grew up, again, a very quiet, shy child, because that was the words I was hearing constantly, and that really did affect me growing up into an adult, and really into my 30s almost as well. Like into my early 30s, I still struggled finding my voice because I had that visibility wound and I had that fear of being seen. I didn't think my opinions mattered. I didn't think I was a good enough person. My self-worth was so low because of the things I internalized growing up, thinking that these were my fault, and how to tiptoe around other people, or to manage my emotions, or, you know, it can be so many things. It can be shrinking your needs. You could have been at one point, perhaps you've had to step in and be the parent. You had to be the parent at one point as a young person with their own stressors going on, and no one should ever have to be put in that position. It teaches us the wrong ideas. It gives us the wrong examples of, you know, how we and that is exactly what I struggled with. I struggled to find my voice. Like, I really didn't think I had anything to offer, even though now I've been coached and I really got to know myself again. And, you know, I know myself more than anyone, and I know how I feel, and I know what I'm passionate about. I know what my strengths are. I know all of these things. I know what all of these things are now because I took the time to learn about myself and be coached. And now this is why I coach everyone else out there who needs support and guidance and who would like my guidance with that, because I have seen firsthand what it is to live like that and be like that, and how life responds back to you. And it's so hard, and a lot of us are wasting so much of our lives missing the lessons and not seeing the little signs, and staying in relationships for way longer than we should with the wrong types of people, because we just think that that is what we are worth at the end of the day. We equate that to what we think we deserve. And when we have the awareness around that is when we can start to change how we show up. We should not be scared to have boundaries and be able to stand on them. We should not be tolerating disrespect from other people, friends, family, colleagues, relationships. We should be able to be so regulated and so strong as people and individuals to say no, like, I am not going to accept that. Have the power to walk away. You don't have to stay in places that make you shrink. You will be welcomed elsewhere. You will find other people. You will find other friend groups. You will find other jobs. Trust me, when I moved to Costa Rica, it was the biggest eye-opener of my entire life. I'm telling you, you go to a place like that and you're met with so many like-minded individuals who are there doing the work on themselves and who are there to celebrate you, and you are so celebrated there as an individual person. And you see a lot of people there who are very strong characters, and you learn so much about yourself through surrounding yourself with these high quality, high frequency individuals. And it really made me audit and have a look and take stock of my life and the people in it and my friends, because I was putting up with the most, and I shouldn't have had to do that. But we stay in these situations because we think that is what we're worth. We are scared to have a boundary. We are scared to say how we feel because of the backlash, or we might lose someone. But instead, the price we pay for that is low quality friendships and relationships and connections. Years of our lives gone on the wrong people, spent trying to contort and squeeze ourselves into being this person for the other person. But that is insane, because you are literally never going to be happy by doing that. And when you can get over that fear of being seen and that visibility wound by reclaiming your worth, by stepping away from things that don't serve you and connections that are draining you and exhausting you, and chasing things that are clearly running away from you or clearly disrespecting you to your face, you need to have that amount of self-love inside you to know that you will find better. You will get better, and trust me, you will. Once you walk away with your head held high as a sovereign individual who loves themselves and thinks about themselves, you will be met with much better connections, friendships, opportunities will open the door to you, and you'll have the confidence to go after them. Do you see what I mean? There was at one point of time where I would never have been able to sit like this and speak to a camera about this, because I was always told I was shy, I was quiet, I wasn't good at XYZ, when really I just operate and work completely different to most people. Like, I have a lot of patience, I have a lot of empathy, compassion, I'm sensitive, I have a different way of working, and for a lot of the time I was shamed for that. And shame is the worst spiral, that feeds the visibility wound so badly, because when someone shames you for being you, where do you go from there? Down. You go down and you spiral and spiral, and you are in a horrible place. And I have been there. But the fear is actually asking you, the fear and the pain of these, low quality relationships, this job that you're not thriving in. This is all information and data. This is asking you, the fear is asking you to look at your life more carefully and to pivot. The universe only makes things uncomfortable for us so that we change direction. And how beautiful is that? There is so much method in the madness, but we just get so swamped and bogged down by that, and we think it's happening to us and not for us. And so if we use that as data and we can actually say, okay, where have I been giving my power away? Where have I actually been dreading meeting up with this group of people? It's not making me feel good. Asking ourselves questions, reflecting on our lives. That is such a great place to start. Reflecting on your life. What's working and what's not. What can you do differently about that? This is the literal work that I take my clients through, so that the fear of being seen and the visibility wound can literally change your life on every level. If you become aware of it, you can see where you're going in the wrong ways, in the wrong places, and start to work on that. Because when you are okay with being seen, okay with being disliked, okay for not being for everyone, because you can't be for everyone. You can't. Me now public speaking, doing what I'm doing today, was nothing like what I would ever have thought I would be doing. Coaching other people in my own business, nothing like what I ever dreamt. But my dream life has came from doing this. And I am a completely different person now because I have done that inner work. Believed in myself, rewired these core beliefs that then, you know, once they become a core belief, they're hard to dismantle, but it is possible. And with the right support and the right questions and the right reflecting and the right structure and frameworks, we can completely thrive in our lives. And once we actually start to believe that it can happen quick, that's when the universe answers. And when we actually start to do this work on ourselves and we start to really believe that I have so much compassion and kindness for people, and if I'm not getting that back, why am I staying in situations that don't serve me? We need to be quick to audit our lives and cut off the things that are draining us, because people will siphon your light, your energy, your love. And you know, that people pleasing comes into it as well a little bit. We think we're being so good of a person, we think we're being so, you know, giving, but at the cost of what? People pleasing is literally just another guise for not wanting to be disliked. It's that visibility wound again, that fear of being seen, that fear of being vulnerable, fear of having boundaries, fear of saying no. So I really hope this video has brought a little bit of, you know, information to you guys, a little bit of awareness. And I love making these videos. If you got anything out of it today, any new information, or you want to just get in touch with me, send me a message, DM me. As of the 9th of March, I am taking on very limited spaces for my coaching, and it's where I work with you one-on-one, and I have a 7-week program that helps with that. So if everything in this video resonates, a piece of it has resonated, and you would like any kind of support, I have options to help, and I would love to support you in that. So if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe. That would do me the biggest favour, and so I can keep making these videos and they can spread to the people who need them most. That is my intention for these. So thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.